All right, MMA Maniacs, it's time once again for your weekly MMA podcast called Split Decision, brought to you from the Ruloff Family Inc. Studios, Bueller and Dodge, here to break down some fight cards that happened over the last week, and of course give you the latest breaking news in the mixed martial arts world. Big thanks to our sponsors, StrongboardBalance.com. Change the way you work out. Get on board at StrongboardBalance.com. Dennis, you're doing the weekly workout. How's that going?
It's going good, man. I didn't have any special workouts, so again, I just did the 30-minute workout. I can never do it like she looks, but and I also incorporated. I like the Superman push-ups, so they're fun to do.
We all turn around to look. How does she look?
Yeah. But on top of that, also I started the 16-8 diet this week, which a lot of people should look into. Man, all you do basically is skip breakfast.
Really?
Oh yeah.
It's the most important meal of the day, though.
Not really, man.
16 meals a day for 8 hours, or what?
No, man. You fast for 16 hours a day and you eat for 8.
Like straight?
Well, you can. Hey, some of these guys tell you can hog down, bro, because you got 8 hours to do it. But since you fasted for 16, I mean, you don't have the stomach for it.
Oh, because your stomach shrinks. That makes sense.
Right.
No, I like my breakfast too much.
No, I know.
I don't like my lunch.
That's what a lot of people tell me.
And I like my mid-afternoon snack and dinner.
Yeah, so I mean,
there's the
I pretty much work.
Snack too.
I work all morning, so I don't really miss nothing.
The pre-jerk warm-up food.
Oh, you got to have the post-nut snack too.
Yeah.
Got to refuel somehow.
I would be eating like at 11 o'clock every night.
So yeah, get on board strongboardbalance.com.
Change the way you work out. Stronghold exercise.
So yeah, check them out on Instagram too. You can possibly win one from them, which is pretty awesome, and we'll be giving one away soon as well. And of course, mymmanews.com for late breaking news. They do it all the time. We do it once a week, so check them out when you can't. Follow them on Twitter or wherever you can find them. And find us wherever podcasts are broadcast. With that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump into some news.
UFC 203.
Yeah.
Losing 2 fighters.
No.
Gaining 2 fighters.
All right. That's a fucking roller coaster right there.
No.
Yes. No. Yes. No. Damn it. Eric Koch is out of his fight with Jason Gonzalez.
Okay.
Or excuse me. Eric Koch is out of his fight with Drew Dauber because he is injured. Jason Gonzalez is filling in for him. Will be fighting Drew
fighting Eric Koch?
No,
or
Drew Dauber. Drew Dauber.
I see.
Jason Gonzalez fighting because Eric Koch is out.
So confusing. All right.
Got
Who
it?
else did we lose?
Who else did we lose? We lost pretty big name there. Ben Rothwell had to pull out of his fight with Verdum. However, Travis Brown is stepping in
I did see this. Okay.
for a second shot at Mr. Verdum. You excited for that fight?
For Travis Brown up against Verdum?
Yeah.
I don't know. He looked pretty bad in his last fight against Kane.
Okay.
So, I guess... And does Verdum have the title right now?
No.
Who the fuck? I don't know who has the titles anymore.
Stipe Miocic
That's right.
has the title. Who is fighting Alistair Overeem at UFC 203.
Okay.
This is going down September 10th.
All right. So hard to keep track of belts this year, man. It's impossible.
No one's keeping them. No one's keeping them.
Well, cool. Cool for Travis Brown getting another shot.
Yeah.
Because if he can beat Verdum, then he's going to be catapulted right back up.
Oh, it has to be.
Yeah.
For sure.
I don't know if he can beat Verdum, but
It's gonna
we'll
be,
see what happens.
Let's see what happens. Kayla Harrison won her second gold medal in judo at the Olympics in Rio over the past week. They asked her about MMA. She's talked about it before, whether or not she would be interested in it. And she said, after a judo match, you shake the person's hand, you give them a hug, you bow to them, show respect. In MMA, it's not like that. I don't know if I'm made or I don't know if I'm cut out for the world where you get fights based on how pretty you are and how much you talk, not necessarily what you're worth in the ring. For me right now, it's just going to be to focus on being a 2-time Olympic champion, enjoy the moment, live the moment, never say never. Right now, the answer is no to MMA.
It's kind of a bummer that she looks at it like that, because I would say on a whole, you still are valued for what you're worth in the ring. On a whole, yeah, we got a lot of these fights that are coming out now, which we talked about on the show a lot, because people are going after chasing the money fights. Like I'm sure we'll talk about Tyrone Woodley coming up here at some point. You know, and that was a Pandora's box that never should have been opened. But still, on the grand scale of things, you're still valued at what you're worth in the ring. And so, I mean, if she doesn't want to do it, she doesn't want to do it. That's fine. But it's always going to be an option until... I think at this point, that's a little bit of a drastic way to look at it.
What's funny is, like I said before, there's interviews where she said she'd think about it. She'd want to see, obviously, she sees Ronda making the money, being an Olympic judo medalist, you know, and seeing that there is a future for her outside of the Olympics in other sports, especially ones that have disciplines in which she's already training in.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting to see. I wonder if it had to do with this whole thing, how the whole thing's been switched around as far as, like, you know, obviously Holly Holm getting in, Ronda Rousey going out, you know, Amanda Nunes coming in. All different things like that. One prospect that did get signed, this is now to the strawweight division, is Alexa Grasso. I don't even care.
Hey, that's our top quality ad right there.
She is undefeated. She is 8-0. She has been signed to the UFC. She just headlined Invicta 18. She will be the main event going up against Heather Jo Clark at Ultimate Fighter Latin America 3 finale November 5th.
Okay.
So top prospect going to the strawweight division.
Right on.
Pretty cool.
Always good to see fresh blood coming in the UFC.
Always good.
Yeah.
Another one that I thought was real. I like this one right here. The story that came out. This is via Facebook. Hoi Cho, who just recently fought, has decided he wants to call out Cub Swanson in probably the nicest way I've ever seen in the history of the sport.
Oh, super polite. Just smiling the entire time.
Smiling. He says, I've been watching you since even before I made my UFC debut. Since my UFC debut, I've won all 3 fights in style. I think it will be a good fight between the two of us. We both always try and knock out our opponents. I like those types of fighters. Even though my ranking isn't so high right now, like you mentioned before, it's not important whether you fight rookies or top-ranked fighters. If you could tell the UFC that you would want to fight me also, that would be great. I would also appreciate it. I want to fight you. I look forward to seeing you in the octagon.
This is the guy who looks really young and has knocked out his first 3 opponents, right?
Yeah, he is 15-1 overall. He is 3-0 in the UFC.
Yeah.
3 straight knockouts.
And he just fought,
he's the number 12 in the featherweight division.
He just fought like 2 UFCs ago or something like that.
Yeah.
3 UFCs ago. Okay.
So I give him the shot. Cub Swanson, why not?
I don't see
What do you
why
got to
not.
lose?
Yeah, Cub Swanson might as well. I don't know if Cub Swanson's ever going to sniff gold again, so might as well take fights when he can get them, you know?
There you go.
Makes sense to me.
Dana White recently did a small press conference on UFC.com, and
right.
he was talking about some things.
What did he say is never going to happen? It's going to happen.
Nothing that's never going to happen.
That's the new thing. If he says it's never going to happen, go out and buy stock in
Go
it.
buy stock for sure.
He says that McGregor will defend his belt after this, regardless win or lose, against Diaz. He will have to defend his belt.
Not defend his belt against Diaz, but defend
No.
it at 145.
Go back down and fight at 145 against Jose Aldo.
Okay, good.
There will be no other options. I don't care, even though Conor was saying, I think there's a trilogy between me and Diaz.
He's going to get his ass kicked again.
Furthermore, he also ruled out Tyrone Woodley's desire for his money fight against Nick Diaz or George St. Pierre. He says he will fight number 1 contender Stephen Thompson. He said, as far as the title goes, I think that Nate feels his brother should have the fight at 170. Nick is not going to come back and fight for the title right away, however. There are guys who are deserving of the title shot. Stephen Thompson is going to fight for the 170-pound title. We'll see what happens with Nick and Nate. Yeah, so, what do you think? Woodley was saying, I want to make some money. My goal 1 was to be the welterweight champion. I got that. Now, I want to make some cash.
Well, turn down a fight and let's see what happens.
Instead of just giving the person who deserves it, I think Nick Diaz comes off suspension. I like to fight him.
So what does he do? Woodley was the one who decided to sit out until he got his shot up against Robbie Lawler.
Right, for a title, not for a money fight.
Right, but is he going to sit out again until he gets his money fight?
No. I think the UFC says you either defend your belt or you're done. It's not like now we go back to the Conor thing with that. Conor took the belt away for Jose Aldo.
Uh-huh.
Immediately jumped at another title shot. It's not like he was like, okay, nobody else can get a title shot. He wanted another. He was going to go for a title,
which was still going to tie up his belt for a while.
Still going to tie up his belt, but at the same time, it was a title shot. It was for something else.
Right.
When Rafael dos Anjos pulled out again, the money fight became Nate Diaz because we don't have anybody to fight now.
Right.
The rematch, like we've talked about over and over again, is completely ridiculous. It's going to be entertaining to watch. It is a money fight, but as far as divisions and belt goes, it's ridiculous.
It's going to be entertaining to watch for about 5 minutes, roughly.
What do you think? Tyrone Woodley?
No, I think Woodley should fight Wonderboy. They should get
Wonderboy.
back on the track of not doing these damn money fights.
Yep.
And make it the legitimate organization that it should be, where you earn your shot and you go for it.
Well, in the crazy rumor section is Nick Diaz is coming back, possibly to fight at UFC 205, possibly against Chael Sonnen.
Who started that? Just Chael, right?
I don't know.
Dodge did last week.
Front Row Brian has been reporting it. He says he's been talking to sources on both sides. That is something that they were looking into. Again, it's just rumored. It's not
Is
confirmed.
205 the one that's in Oregon?
New York.
Oh, it's in New York.
That's the first one in New York.
Oh, that's Madison Square Garden.
That's Madison Square Garden.
Oh, well, they're gonna want a hype train for that, so that would actually make a lot of sense.
Quite possibly, the other rumor is George St. Pierre has started his USADA testing.
Doesn't he have to test for 4 months though before he can fight?
No, that's what because he could have got the same exemption.
Yep,
that Lesnar got, but he was like, no, he don't want to be in question.
He wants to prove he's clean.
He wants to come all the way in, and truthfully, he's pretty smart. I think he wants 4 months to get ready.
Yeah, why not?
Of course.
I mean, he might be in shape, but he still has to get in fight shape.
But he wouldn't. That wouldn't be Madison Square Garden though, would it?
Depends on the date.
That's cutting it really close.
So what about Nick? So does Nick have to do this 4 month once he decides to come back in?
I believe he was still under it because he's still a contracted fighter. Even though he was on suspension, he still gets tested.
Okay.
So I don't think he has a.
So how is he not still popping for weed every time?
He hasn't retired.
Well, because
and that's out of competition.
They don't test for weed.
That's out of competition. This is in competition. He got busted both times in competition for weed.
I forgot.
Not out of competition.
All right, that makes sense then.
So he's still been technically getting tested by USADA, but because he's not in competition, anything he gets tested for, as long as it's not performance enhancing.
Imagine getting tested for
but
2
he's
years.
suspended. I mean, he's been suspended for 2 years. So
Yeah, I couldn't imagine getting suspended for 2 years and then still having to pee in a cup. That entire time.
unless he retires, if he retired, then he has that 4 months he's got to wait.
Right. So that's why George St. Pierre has to do the 4 months.
Yeah, because he technically retired.
I mean, if he just announced it, yesterday?
Yeah, I believe that, or the day before.
I don't think that's going to make Madison Square Garden, man. I really don't.
Rumors.
All right.
Lyoto Machida's brother, Chinzo Machida, is going to fight at Bellator 160 August 26th. That is coming up. It's pretty interesting seeing
Little bro.
See how well he does.
He's 3-2,
3-2.
and he's 39 years old, huh?
Yep.
That sounds
Featherweight.
sounds like an absolutely horrible idea.
Featherweight, mind you. I don't know what siblings have we seen that have done really well.
Aside from the Nogueras.
Yeah, their times have kind of gone now.
Yeah,
I mean, they did well.
They did well. Well, Sergio Pettis is not doing it
Shogun and Ninja, right? The Huas.
Yeah.
They did well while they were doing it.
until Ninja lost his mind.
And Shogun blew out his knees.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. Sergio Pettis he's hit and miss. Anthony Pettis has also kind of fallen down after since the Showtime kick. How many brothers have we had fight?
What else do you have? Do you have
Diaz?
the Diaz brothers? Obviously, the big ones that are still doing very well.
Damn, that was a bonehead move to miss those two. Was there any other?
I think
brothers at
both
all?
of us. I think both of us were thinking, who's doing really shitty right now that are both brothers,
Well, and
but might have done well.
And then bloodline wise, we have what's his name? His son's coming in.
Kimbo.
Kimbo's
yeah.
son's coming in, or has
We
been
saw
fighting.
Couture's son come in too.
I'm just
Yeah,
laughing.
Couture's son didn't do too well. Plus, I think that they kind of stacked.
Oh
big ass-
yeah, they 100%. Even Randy said, they're
They
basically
steamrolled him.
Yeah, they steamrolled him.
Yeah.
What were the other two brothers? The Millers.
Yep. Jim.
Oh,
and-
McDonald. Both the McDonald brothers are fighting, right?
True, but not in the same organization.
Okay, but
Well, this is also Bellator and UFC. So.
What
True.
were the two Russian brothers?
Yeah,
the Klitschko's.
Fedor
and Elemenko, or Fedor and what was his
Alexander.
Alexander.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't find the UFC because he tested positive for Hep C.
Really?
Yeah.
And then all the Gracies.
Yeah, all the Gracies.
Well, you had Hoist in the UFC. You had Hickson over in Pride. Who else fought in Pride? Half?
Yeah, he also fought in the UFC, I believe.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh, he did. He had that one that was out in the desert, right?
Yeah.
With Matt Hughes.
No, that wasn't Half. That was
Fighting for a promotion that has no name.
that was the one in it. That was Henzo.
Henzo.
That was Henzo.
Yeah. Okay.
Conor McGregor recently, in his build-up for the UFC 202, did a media event where he said, for the most part, WWE guys are pussies.
Dude, this guy.
They're
is-
messed up pussies, if you ask me. Fair play to Brock. He got in and fought, but at the end of the day, he was juiced up to his fucking eyeballs. How can I respect that? What's the other guy? I don't even know the other guy. He hasn't even fought yet, so I don't know about him. He also said... Then he gets on Twitter and says, I didn't mean no disrespect to the fans. What I meant to say was I'd slap the head off your entire roster twice on Sundays.
Yeah, and they did everything he wanted him to do. 14.6 million people tweeted, Facebook, and talked about him the next day.
Is that right?
14.6 million.
The WWE roster kind of went off on Twitter responding to him. Ric Flair, I think, had the best comebacks and the best... Coming from a guy who built his career copying my persona, I'd expect a little more type of class.
I
like
never
we get
even
for
thought of
Ronda or
that.
Anderson. Oh, he has stole everything. I mean, look at him with his gator shoes. He's talking about.
I know. I didn't even think about it until he came out and did it.
He says, after Diaz finishes you again, I dare you to try guys like Dolph, Brock, or Fit. Oh, yeah, and you're welcome for your gimmick.
Nice.
Rusev says, so much talk for a guy who fights 15-minute matches twice a year. Good for you, Conor McGregor. MVP, the way...
McGregor. Why?
I don't know.
Why is it McGregor? All right.
Are you sure that's not McGyver?
Sure, McGregor. Conor
it's McGregor.
I'm down with McGregor.
MVP says the way Nate Diaz Stockton slapped you, or nah?
Maybe it's like McGregor because he McGave up. McCapped out.
Conor
AJ
McGave up.
AJ Styles says, I think McGregor would do well in the featherweight division if we had one. And then he tweeted Natty Neidhart, which is the girl in this division. Let's see. Roman Reigns says, you're the size of my legs. Shut up. Kurt Angle says, very funny little guy. Why don't you get your head out Dana White's ass?
That's the one I was surprised. I thought of all the people who wouldn't respond, I thought Angle would not respond.
Sasha Banks says, bring it. It was pretty funny.
Sasha Banks just won the championship, too.
Yep.
Watch out now.
Right?
Well, Kurt Angle tried to get into the UFC at one point. They were working on something, and it fell through because
Didn't work out.
Did you see him beat the shit out of people in pros versus, what was it, pros against Joes?
Yeah.
Joe's.
Dude, he was ruthless.
Him and Brock had a match backstage.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, just to see who was the better wrestler. Angle schooled him.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then somebody questioned Ric Flair calling out Dolph Ziggler is the guy's name, and he is a legit Kent State wrestler. Actually, was a walk-on, holds the record at his high school, holds the record at Kent State up until last year for most consecutive wins. Had like over 200 wins with 0 losses.
Wow.
And he's doing it. Obviously, they're like look up people's records before you talk shit. Is basically
What
what he's saying.
I don't understand is like you look at his statement and he calls them all pussies.
Yeah.
But then he says nothing to back up the fact that they're pussies.
No.
Just says that they
Then he'll slap the shit out of them.
slap the shit out of them. They're doing steroids and stuff like that. Like those are not mutually exclusive at all. Like you can look at these guys. Obviously, they're physically fit. They're doing a bunch of demanding things, like calling them pussies. It doesn't make any sense. I don't understand that. But like Dennis said, 14.6 million people talking about it.
There's no such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah, that's what you told me. Then I put my dick on the internet, and then what happened?
Draymond Green's doing fine. You leave him alone. Someone hacked his Snapchat.
It was a private message.
I was like, who put the earthworm on the? What is that?
Hey, it made me feel better. Knowing that he's a
what are you
6'7"
are you
basketball player, I was like, all right, I'm doing okay. And then Orlando Bloom puts his dick out like 2 days later, and I'm back in fucking.
Yeah, what was
myself
up
again.
with that? I think it was photoshopped.
I think it was Photoshop.
The
Something.
anteater?
They used a weird angle, like one of the mirrors at the freaking fair or
what it was?
something. That's not Bloom's wiener, bro. I don't care.
Juliana
I picture
Pena.
Bloom having an Anthony wiener.
Anthony Wiener? I don't know, man. He's got an anteater choking on an apple.
I don't know.
Juliana Pena recently caught up with TMZ Sports. Or should I say TMZ Sports recently caught up with Juliana Pena? They asked her what her thoughts were about the new champion. She says, you know what? They can delay me, but they can't deny me. I've had my hand raised in the octagon more than any female out there. No one deserves a title shot more than I do. This is how I feel about that. Yeah,
And that's all I got to say about that.
But that she's going to continue and says, she knows she needs to fight me. All these girls know that she needs to fight me, and I want my belt, so I'm not going to stop until I get it. I think Rousey is coming back before the end of the year. That's what I've been told. That's what I've heard. I'll believe it when I see it, when she actually signs the contract and dotted line, and then I'll be more of a believer. But she says she's coming back, so we'll see. However, she's like the emperor with no clothes. You know what I mean? She's broken. I just think no one really cares about Ronda Rousey and her fat arms anymore.
I don't care. I would like to see both emperors with no clothes.
I guess some people do, so I guess Amanda Nunes is going to have to wait
wrestling
around for that title fight. We'll see how it goes. She then got blasted online by a bunch of people saying that she shouldn't fat shame other female fighters.
Who cares, man?
How do you feel? I mean, other than trash talk is part of the game.
You can't say shit about anybody.
You can't say shit. You know what?
You can't tell me who I can and can't shame.
Yeah, and this is going out to Jeff, because Jeff always champions this one. It's like the people who are like, I'm against baby cancer. And like someone's going to get on there and be like, fuck you, I like baby cancer. It's just not going to happen, man.
No, you don't have any. There's no right for you to not be offended. If I want to offend you, then fuck off. If my words hurt you, then you're a fucking pussy. If I hurt your feelings, guess what? Your feelings are not my responsibility.
They're not. Yeah. He's not a role model.
Oh, hell no.
He's he is no type of model.
No.
Possibly hand. No.
Hand model. Nope.
No.
Even that hat, it's not looking right. No. Definitely not a hat model.
Let's see who do we got. We got some USADA news. We have Ning Goyong Yu.
Sure.
Yeah.
Guan Yu.
Who tested positive for trace amounts of clenbuterol, which is banned, obviously, under USADA. He will not face any suspension.
I understand.
I think, we need to put out
what we were talking about. They said he won the original Ultimate Fighter China. He was tested positive for the substance because it's banned for its off-label use as an anabolic agent. However, following a test, because he ingested it without fault or negligence, he won't face any disciplinary action.
So they
said they reviewed all of the evidence, including his whereabouts, his dietary habits, and lab reports demonstrating from very, very low parts per billion concentrate of the prohibited substance in his urine sample, concluded that the presence of clenbuterol was very likely resulted from a contaminated meat he got in China. As a result, he will not face a period of ineligibility.
Oh, okay. All right.
So, there is hope for Frank Mir. If he was eating that kangaroo meat...
I think it was. I think we've established his kangaroo meat.
He might be okay.
Was he eating like Fukushima sushi, possibly?
They just said beef. This is
so no.
This is contaminated meat. It had clenbuterol in it. But again, because he didn't know, he's not going up to every butcher and be like, "Hey, are these cows on steroids?" No, then I'll eat it. Yes.
It's iffy. It gets filtered.
It's iffy.
It gets filtered.
Is it filtered?
Yeah, it's filtered.
How much per ounce?
Billions,
low billions.
What you do if you want to have legal steroids, we talked about this. You spray the steroids on the grass the cows are going to eat. The cows eat the steroids and they get all big and stuff. And then you slaughter them for their steaks, and you eat the steak, steroid steaks, and now you're getting natural steroids, and it's all good and 100% legal.
Until they ban that.
I don't think so.
No, it's not.
Because you illegally got the steroids to begin with. What the fuck?
Melvin Gillard has been suspended for 1 year and fined $10,000 for his positive test in his July 22nd bout against David Rickles, and the bout will be changed to a no contest.
Did he even look like he was using an enhancer?
Cocaine.
Whoa.
That was a
not
long
even
time
allegedly. Ago. That was something that Joey made up.
No.
Bullshit.
That actually
he tested
happened.
positive for cocaine.
That actually happened, just not this fight.
Not this fight.
Like, I don't care.
Yeah, back in the past. Way to be a girlfriend, Joey. Way to be a girlfriend.
Like a plunger, just bringing up old shit.
It's always gonna be cocaine with Melvin Gillard. It's always gonna be cocaine with John Jones. Well, no, not
no,
always
it's
now,
not always. That's
Yes,
again. These are
Walker,
things that Joey's just making up.
Ken Shamrock also has his Texas
You on cocaine?
No, he did
license
not.
revoked, and
Nobody
he will
did
pay
cocaine.
a $2,500 fine.
That's a lie. People did cocaine.
Okay, some people did cocaine.
Coke was done. What was that
Brandon,
about
go
Ken Shamrock?
Ken Shamrock got fined $2,500 and had his Texas fight license has been revoked
Really?
Did
Why?
you read?
because of his positive test.
Oh, Jesus.
Now I heard that they actually felt sorry for him.
Probably.
That's why they
he's
only
got
fined him $2,500.
Yeah, and I don't know. I can't find it again. I read it real quick when I was out and about on the mobile,
Yeah.
and I tried to find it when I got home. Somebody must have already squashed the story, but I mean, how cool is that? They're like, well,
He needs something. He's got to pay back
Yeah.
Dana for that like 25 grandios.
bucks. Because
I'm
I
sure
thought
Tito
that there was
owes
like a
Tito
maximum
money.
of like 10,000 or 15,000. This guy walks away with like
2,500.
yeah. It's like what you
But
could
it's
buy
Texas,
a
'cause
used
that's the-
Ranger truck for.
Exactly. How much is your registration?
How much your registration?
I
Just
need
give
a
us
used
that
Ranger
amount.
truck right now. I need a used Ranger truck right
You
now.
need-
$2,500?
My truck got totaled.
Again.
No, the last time it wasn't totaled.
Oh, they totaled it?
Yeah. Both airbags went off.
No, you need to go back to an avalanche.
I almost died for this show. Just saying.
I know.
Yeah, the way back from the
No,
last
he
show.
hit somebody else.
No, it wasn't on the way to the show. It was on the way back.
On the way back.
Matter of fact, it wasn't. It was while he was on his lunch break.
Dodge didn't dodge.
It's not good. It's not like his last name.
Nevada State Athletic Commission is going to hear. They're gonna put it on their books about a temporary suspension request for Brock Lesnar. He is asking for an extension on his out of competition drug testing
Oh, I'm so
hearing.
glad you said that. I didn't know what he was getting extended.
Oh, man.
The penis sword?
You can buy those now.
Just so he didn't pee on
So
his feet.
the John Jones and Lesnar cases have been pushed back to find out about what's going to happen between the two of them.
Oh, the Jones one has two?
Yep.
Jeez. All right.
No offense. No official suspension has been levied.
Does that count as
He's
time
life.
served? If, like...
Well, I mean, if you want to talk about John Jones, sort of. Like, if you go to actual court, like we're going to talk about this story right now. Remember when he got busted for drag racing, exhibition driving, use of modified exhaust systems, failure to maintain traffic lane, and improper display of registration plate.
Now, remember, he said he didn't do any of that.
And he had it all on video.
Yeah.
He was able to plead guilty only to modified exhaust and registration plate. So now he must complete 60 hours of community service and take an aggressive driving course. However, because he's already been doing community service, he's already put in 51 hours.
Wow.
So there you go.
But just remember, in the city that you live in, if you do a PSA on TV, they count those hours.
Ask Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah.
I couldn't get
Remember that back in the day?
PSA?
Remember Kelsey Grammer back in the day? Drunk driving, had to do those don't drink and drive.
Yeah. My favorite PSA of all time is going to be the, what's his name? The billionaire out there in Vegas.
Who?
You got to narrow it down.
Yeah.
No,
the billionaire?
Dan something. I don't know.
Blazarian?
Dan Blazarian.
Or whatever his last name
When
is.
he
Yeah.
do the PSA for blowing shit up in the desert.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, and then he had a painting behind. He's doing his PSA saying "Don't blow shit up in the desert." He's got a gun in back of him, like a big fucking gun. He's got a Dan Blazarian bobblehead, and he's got a painting in back of him like riding a fucking flying dragon, is breathing fire with a naked hooker in back of him, and he's like fucking shooting an AK, and he's like, "Don't blow shit up." Like one of the best PSAs ever.
Yeah, but he's the one that posts random pictures of naked chicks with huge guns, right?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course.
Yeah.
And they held firearms, too.
He's the one who threw that porn star off the roof into the pool and she missed.
Yeah.
Gonna be looking that up.
Yeah. She missed. She broke her leg.
Ow. That's
So-
it?
Yeah.
Also,
She must have landed on her fakies.
both Lesnar and John Jones have been removed from the official rankings.
Yeah, I saw that. That's crazy.
So,
And Carwin, too, right? Carwin's gone again?
yeah, last I saw.
Oh, that's weird. All right.
I think that they were just keeping Carwin as a backup.
Oh,
Fuck off.
yeah, I would say with that.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting. Like I said, they get removed from the rankings. There's rumors. I saw something earlier today about Anthony Johnson talking about all the light heavyweights. They don't even care about John Jones anymore. They're like, he's going to self-destruct on his own. We're not even worried about having to fight him. We're just moving on to the next, whoever's next.
Might as well.
Nobody's going to be calling him out. Nobody's going to be thinking about him.
Yeah,
Is that
might
good
as
or
well.
bad? I mean, nobody's thinking about it. If he starts,
It's bad for John Jones.
yeah,
I think it's bad because then,
nobody wants to see him fight anymore.
right? I was having a discussion with a friend of mine, and it's like, and I was saying the same thing. It's like, okay, maybe there's not no one wants to see him fight anymore, but he's tied for the 16th highest grossing pay-per-view. So he's got 15 other pay-per-views ahead of him where he's like, oh, he brings in numbers, he brings in numbers. His best one, he comes in at number 16, and he's tied with 2 other pay-per-views.
Yeah.
So is he really a number bringer? I don't know. I don't know if I'd call him that. He might be one of their top 8, maybe. I don't know. But he's still. I mean, you got Rashad Evans. What was that pay-per-view? No, I can't remember.
Is the number one still Tito versus Chuck Liddell?
I can't remember the list anymore.
Joey needs
but
Ginkgo biloba, dude. He can't remember shit.
I can't now, man. Ginkgo biloba.
So the last
That's awesome.
big part of news that got announced as of yesterday is that a new organization, the Professional Fighters Association, has been established. This is basically a fighters union. What's interesting about this thing is that it only targets UFC fighters.
Oh, that's weird.
Bellator fighters are not mentioned. ONE FC, Ryzen, nobody else. They are
course not
specifically going after UFC fighters. They said, a couple of the articles I've read, they said this is really weird timing, seeing as 2 weeks ago the UFC got sold for $4 billion. They're only going to represent UFC fighters. There's already another organization that's been out there, the MMA FA, the First Fighters Association ever, which has not gained any traction whatsoever, has been constantly trying to bring the Ali Act to MMA. In fact, they issued their own release after the PFA saying, we're urging fighters and managers to decline requests from entities offering to assist organization of fighters union, which that's not us.
Weird, man. Well, here's a question for you though. There's the the NFL union, for example. They don't represent the CFL or arena football, do they?
Nope.
No, it's just the NFL's Players Union.
Yeah, so the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, the NHL, and the MLS, all unions are supporting Professional Fighters Association, however.
Because isn't the guy who's leading it, isn't he like a former baseball
Yeah.
like legend or something?
Yeah, he is he is a longtime agent. Jeff Boris. He's represented over 500 baseball players, including Barry Bonds, Jose Canseco, Ricky Henderson. It just seems really, really strange that why they're if two organizations are really going to help the sport or if it's going to hinder the sport.
Well, what's going to happen if, let's say, both these organizations get fighters to sign up with them? So now we have these fighters over there, and the UFC says, well, we're not going to work with these fighter associations. So now they have to go find a completely separate drafting pool, and all these guys who are being held up by their contracts with the UFC can't go fight anywhere else either. I'm surprised that there wasn't a no union clause in the contract when they signed it.
Speaking of some of this is Carlos Condit recently talking about some of his things. He says, I think it's time. He's talking about sponsors. He says, by the time I got notoriety, the sponsorship tax had already taken effect. I had some pretty lucrative sponsors. Nothing super crazy, but definitely enough to cover training expenses, give me a little bit of a buffer in case I got hurt or if my opponent pulled out. He says, I've been 8 weeks into a fight camp, 2 weeks out from a fight, having paid all my coaches, my plane tickets, invested money into the camp, only to not be able to fight because my opponent got hurt. Now I'm out of that money. It sucks. He says, with the Reebok thing, we weren't consulted. Nobody asked us our opinion. Nobody sought to ask, what do you think of this? It was super heavy-handed, and it lost us a lot of money. The difference is the money I make from Reebok is per fight, meaning I have to fight to get that money. If I don't fight, there is no money. It's not based on me being a good spokesman or a face of the company. It's per fight. It's very different. It's more like a fight bonus than a sponsorship.
Well, the Reebok deal sucks, and yeah, it should have. That's probably what spurred a lot of this union stuff into action more so than anything else in the past because of all the money these people were losing. I mean, these guys losing 6 figures per fight. That's bananas.
Yeah.
bananas.
So it's.
You know how to spell bananas?
Yeah, you did that a little early there.
But I mean, what do you? We talked about this before. Do you think there needs to be a fighters union? Do you think? I mean, we talk about boxing. There's no union for boxing. There's no fighters union for boxing. They have the Ali Act.
But boxers.
They have the Ali Act. In fact, I watched a recent documentary on Netflix called Champs, and they talk about Vander Holyfield, talk about Bernard Hopkins, they talk about Mike Tyson. And one of the best things about the whole thing is they say, yeah, they have the Ali Act. The government's supposed to step in when they're being taken advantage of, and they're supposed to be able to do this. However, not one single case has been heard. Not one single case has gone to the courts.
Really? Because every time it's gotten close, they've basically settled.
Yeah.
Okay.
So is the Ali Act? Yeah, it's there to protect the fighters, but it's kind of a joke. So what are we gonna do?
Well, I mean, still, it's ended up in a settlement, so it's still getting the fighter something, right?
How many of these fighters still have money?
That's not the Ali Act's fault. That's not the union's fault.
No, but
How
I mean,
many other professional athletes quit their sport and end up.
Plus, I don't see boxing isn't. The UFC's is starting to just be a revolving thing. I mean, we're having 3 to 5 fights a month. You know what I mean? We're seeing some of these fighters fight every 6 weeks. So, I mean, it's not the same. It's not football, but then again, it's not boxing. I mean, I don't know where you put it. Obviously, for a long time, the UFC management was hemorrhaging money, and they weren't taking it out of the pockets of the fighters. And now that the UFC business is making money, the fighters want it put in their pockets. I don't know. I don't know where the middle ground is on this.
In my opinion, the UFC has made a lot of really sketchy decisions and done a lot of sketchy things. That involves fighter pay. The Reebok deal I thought was horrible. We all did. To them saying that they have to sign away their likeness. The fighters give UFC control of their likeness for life. Like, that's fucking bananas right there.
Here's the PFA's website. They're talking about how revenue, obviously the revenue of the leagues, you see 50-50 split. Where it's the revenue of the UFC, it's 85-15.
Now,
let's
see that pie chart in 95.
Right?
Where all the money was going out. We know for a fact 10 years they weren't making any money.
The thing that I also like about this, they're trying to break down the benefits of having a union and the benefits of not having a union. They say, Major League Baseball, NBA, NFL, NHL, they have minimum guarantees. You know what I mean? Or some otherwise. But you've seen the UFC have things like, okay, you're going to get paid this no matter what. If you fight or you don't fight, your guy gets injured. Dana White's flat out said. I mean, I don't know if it's true, and some of the fighters even said, yeah, they took care of me. They paid me because my opponent pulled out of the fight. Right. Not maybe 95, but as they've gotten the money.
Right.
Same thing with healthcare. The PFA is saying that, well, the UFC has no healthcare. They have no medical. But then you hear of all these cases where they did institute healthcare.
Here's my question.
Yeah.
When did the NFL or NBA, when did they unionize?
No idea.
I'm just going to throw this out here. I'm guaranteeing that the NFL probably was going at least a good 45, 50 years before they unionized. So maybe we should let the UFC go 45, 50 years before it unionizes.
I mean, you talk about up here on the page too. They talk about sharing licensing, merchandising, media revenue. We know for a fact guys are getting pay-per-view numbers. Guys are getting a percentage
This is true.
at the top level. Where they're saying, "Oh, they don't get anything." Now there are some fighters who probably don't get anything.
Well, and what they're probably trying
But
to say
again,
is they need
who's going to buy a Lorenz Larkin action figure?
Joey.
Maybe me.
Just for the obscurity level.
I mean, I have a Houston Alexander one.
Right.
Did you get it for free?
I don't remember.
I'm just saying, you get some of these fighters, unless it's your dad or the guy who's fighting or he's from your hometown, you're not necessarily going to buy
they're not
that merch. Like
But
we talked about when the Reebok deal came out. Who's going to go out and be buying merch with somebody's name on it? You see the guy fight one time.
That's no different.
We have actually started seeing more merch at these fights though.
Yeah.
People wearing the Reebok
But that's
kits.
still no different than your favorite team, whatever it might be. You guys are both Raiders fans. Are you going to go and get some obscure players jersey? No, you're going to get the players that you know.
I have a Matuziak jersey.
You want me to go get my Randy Moss jersey?
I know who Randy Moss is. I don't fucking watch football.
But I'm just saying, he was only a Raider for like 2 years.
Yeah.
Well,
But I have that jersey.
Like I said, I have a Matuziak jersey. Do you even know who Matuziak is?
no.
That's the guy who played Sloth from the Goonies. He was a Raider.
And a Denver,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
a Denver Bronco.
Yeah, but for what the UFC asks of them to sign away their likeness and
Yep.
to just stick to only UFC sponsors, and they're not going to get the cut of the money,
Right.
Then at that point, you owe the fighters some type of compensation
Yeah.
for that. And when you screw with the lower fighters, because you're right. Maybe you don't know these fuckers, but at least these guys were coming in with sponsors and they were getting paid by them.
I knew
Yeah.
that.
There was-
I knew the fucking socialist was over
I'm
here.
just saying. Oh, yeah, it's funny.
No, I-
It's
no,
funny.
no,
Because I'm talking about free market right now, and you want to complain about it. That's funny. I'm talking about the free market system.
I just like to argue.
Yeah, I know,
Especially with you.
but really, honestly, though,
But that's a good point, though, because these people were getting sponsors because they were somebody's friend, because they were
Right.
somebody's brother.
Right, and exactly like Connie just talked about. I was getting sponsors. They weren't amazing, but I worked my ass off to get the sponsors that I had.
right? They
I
had
come
someone,
to the UFC,
someone that believed in them,
and then we have the sponsorship tax. A lot of my guys couldn't pay it anymore. And then I still had some sponsors, and then the Reebok comes in. You're not allowed to have any more sponsors.
and we're not going to give you money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's bullshit.
yeah.
I mean, so
called
again,
getting
do
effed
you
in the
think
A.
a union is what they need to do?
If that's what it takes to get these guys paid what they need to get paid, then maybe it is, because they are getting screwed over quite a bit.
Or do we need to sit down and really write up some real contracts? I mean, will that make a difference?
If they go union, a lot of these guys are never going to see the inside of the cage again, because Dana's just not going to want to deal with a union on it.
No.
And he might deal with the union on some of the bigger names and bigger prospects.
We'll see with the new ownership, because the new ownership, you have to remember, one of them is a sports agent, or he's a Hollywood agent. He understands how agencies work and how I want to get my client's going to get a percentage of this, my client's going to get a percentage of that.
Oh yeah, well that's where see, and then there's another animal that's going to come into the game. Agents are going to eat this shit up because they're going to well, you need somebody who's going to show you everything that's going down.
This past, what was that, Saturday? Or was it Friday? UFC Fight Night. Do you remember what day that was?
It was Saturday.
It was Saturday. UFC Fight Night 92 was live from Salt Lake City, Utah. Starting off your preliminary card, we have Justin Ledat over Chase Sherman in unanimous decision. Cub Swanson over Kawajiri in unanimous decision. That kicked off your Fight Pass card. Did you get a chance to watch those fights, Dennis?
Yeah.
What did you think of the Cub Swanson Kawajiri fight?
I expected a lot more out of Kawajiri.
Yeah. Well, he's just a grinder, man.
Yeah, I know.
You did
But Cub, you could tell that he's been working on some stuff.
Yeah.
I did expect the finish in the third. It never came
Just
around.
couldn't get it. Just couldn't get it.
Couldn't get it.
Teruto Ishihara over Horacio Gutierrez with a knockout in round one at 232, followed by another knockout, David Taymur over Jason Novelli. That's this time in the second round at 125. Marcin Tybura over Vitor Pesta with a head kick, 53 seconds.
Just 3 KOs in a row. Bang, bang, bang.
All on UFC Fox Sports 1, so I actually got to watch these fights.
Cool.
Which was fantastic. Court McGee over Dominique Steele, unanimous decision.
Back to porn.
Yeah.
This fight was boring, in my opinion.
I'm just glad Court McGee got a win, man.
Yeah, I was glad for Court, even though I took Dominic Steele.
Jumping onto your main card, you got Marina Moroz up against Danielle Taylor. Split decision for this one. You also got Trevor Smith and Joe Gigliotti going to a unanimous decision in favor of Trevor. Santiago Ponzinibbio up against Zach Cummings.
That was a hell of a fight.
Told you, took the Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
Ponzi scheme and a
Hell of a
unanimous
fight.
decision on that one. And then your first submission on the main card of the night.
Wow.
You
Hey,
got
ladies.
Palace Ladies get a rear naked choke over Chris Camozzi.
Did not see that coming.
Neither did Chris Camozzi. And then Dennis Bermudez breaks the streak that we have on the interviews. Gets
Now,
Absolutely dominated, in
did
my
you
opinion,
feel
Honey Jason.
like after the second, like he just made a mental decision? I'm not going to finish him. I'm just going to beat him up from here on out.
It just dominate him.
Yeah,
I want to
what
make
about
him
when
bleed a little bit more.
What do you think when Jason got on his back?
Yeah.
I mean, just for a second, but it was like he's just breathing. He was like, okay, and then he reversed it on him, you know, and then comes out in the third, then just beats the shit out of him.
Like I said, you could just see the impact where he just...
Yeah, and then one judge with the 26.
Yeah.
He was like, I felt like he was dead.
your main event of the night. Yair Rodriguez up against Bruce Lee, where Alex Caceres ends in a split decision.
Twitter was aflame.
It was close.
This was some ninja shit going on in the cage. Constantly, both these guys, I felt they were going for the spinning shit of the year award.
Possibly.
You see the one judge? So the one judge took Caceres, right?
Yeah.
I don't see how that happened, but
How he got 46, 49?
That's again.
That's insane.
So it ended up 48-47, right?
Yeah. 48, 47, 48,
That's
47,
so
and
close.
46, 49. I don't know how the 46, 49 came about.
Bizarre.
Did it looked like a badass Capoeira video.
Yeah, it was.
If you put Anana way,
Banana way, banana way, banana. Only the strong.
Only Capoeira movie ever.
Is it really the only one?
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a couple B
No,
flicks.
there's-
That is a B flick.
There is movies that feature Capoeira, but this one was the one that was focused on Capoeira.
yeah.
It wasn't a B flick. It was an 80s flick.
That was a B flick.
It was actually, I think it was 90s off, possibly 2000.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Okay, all right.
100%. I was in
Mark
high school.
Discasios.
I was in high school and I was like, "Does anyone
Hey.
teach capoeira around here?"
Yeah, but
Right?
the
I
time
did the
zone's
same
different
thing.
in Brazil. So.
Yeah. No, that was a B movie because it didn't. I don't think it came out in theaters.
1993.
Did it come out in theaters?
93. He said 2000.
It didn't come out in theaters.
It had to have.
There's
Yeah,
no
it was
fucking
in
way it came out in
theaters.
theaters.
Yeah, it was at the one by the mall.
Yeah.
Where it was
The little
75
one?
Let's
cents.
see, box office right
Mondays.
there.
Box office. There you go.
It earned $3 million.
There you
Only
go.
half of its $6 million budget. It
cost
currently has a 0% rating on Rotten Tomatoes,
Holy shit!
but there's only 7 reviews.
And they
I
all
feel
give it
more
a
than
0?
7 people have watched this movie and like it,
Nobody wants to admit
but
it.
nobody wants to admit that they like
Yeah,
it.
it's a closet thing. We're bringing it back though.
Yeah.
If you got Netflix or something, go find it.
I'm going to design an Only the Strong t-shirt.
Only the strong. Only the strong T-shirt. Awesome. So there you have it. That wraps up your news and your fight card from last week. We don't have anything going on this weekend. However, UFC 202 is happening a week from tomorrow. So we'll be back next week to discuss that fight card with you and, of course, bringing the news that's going down next week. Big thanks to StrongboardBalance.com as well as MyMMAnews.com. And, again, that's it for this week. Find us wherever podcasts are broadcast. Tell your friends, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, SD_MMA. And, from the Rule Off Family Inc. Studios, Bueller and Dodge saying have a good night. See you at the fights.